The next game that I'm going to take a look at is from Strategy and Tactics number 249. The issue is called Napoleon in Egypt. It actually has two games in this box, one in Egypt and Syria involving Napoleon, but another one of the similar time period involving Sweden. So I'm going to be looking at the Egyptian campaign. It's 1798 and 1799. It's at a fairly high operational level, and it produces a narrative, which is one of the reasons I like the game. It's not a detailed discussion of Napoleonic battles, but it does cover a narrative of Napoleon and his forces in the late 18th century. This game starts on turn one is July and August of 1798, and the French player basically has the initiative and is the first player. And he starts out with his forces in Alexandria, Egypt. And at the beginning of the game, the Ottomans are the second player. They start with 31 victory points, and the French player starts with 3 victory points. And the turns in the game basically are 1 month or 2 months of time, depending on what the weather is like during that season. And the units are mostly brigades and battalion sized. And the scale is, the hexes are like 12 miles across. And to win this game, the French needs to develop the victory point ratio to at least 2-to-1 versus the Ottomans. So they start off in a fairly severe deficit at 3-to-31. So otherwise, the Ottomans will take a victory if the French don't at least get this to 2-to-1. So on turn one, representing July and August of 1798, the French forces moved to capture Damanhur and Tanta. And I have a picture of this here with the French 1st, 2nd, and 3rd divisions fighting here, trying to drive on Cairo. And they do end up meeting some opposition from the Ottomans. And we see the 1st Mameluke Cavalry Brigade is there to check them. And there is a battle here. The French have overwhelming force, so they win the day. The Mamelukes are routed, and the French collect 2 victory points here. And then Rosetta is looted by the French scientist, which gains victory points as well. During the Ottoman part of the turn, the Mameluke cavalry ride up to Tanta, and they attack the French troops that are deployed there. And this results in a French catastrophe. And the French forces are all eliminated. So we end the turn with the Ottomans still in the lead. They have 29 victory points, but the French now have 8 victory points. And that is going to take us to the next turn. So turn 2 is representing the month of September of 1798. And one of the things that has happened at this point is that the Nile River is at flood stage. And so that has a game effect, particularly on the movement of units trying to cross the Nile. And the players consult the random events table, which yields the result of Ottoman infighting. And that is a common occurrence among this group. And the area affected is Syria and Palestine. So the game effect is that the units in these areas will not be allowed to maneuver or attack. The French army receives a battalion of Greek mercenaries as reinforcements, but this is not a whole lot of help at this stage. Then the French cavalry ride out to the port of Damietta and capture that. It's not shown in the picture here. Meanwhile, Napoleon attempts to seize Cairo. There is a weak infantry unit defending that, and the combat result is defender routed, and the Ottoman troops are dispersed while the French capture Cairo. I don't really have a picture of that, but I do in this picture show another attack aimed at the Mameluke cavalry at Tanta, and you can see that's where this conglomeration of forces from both sides are assembled in battle, and here the Ottoman cavalry end up routing. So the Ottoman player, during his part of the turn, receives reinforcements. These appear in El Minya, and some of the forces move into the towns of Fayoum and Beni Suef, and then Mameluke units enter Salahaya. There are no sieges to resolve, so that phase is skipped, but the score is adjusted, and now the Ottomans have 25 victory points to the French 16 victory points, and that brings turn 2 to an end. We go to turn 3. This represents October of 1798, and as you can see in the picture, the Nile River is continuing to flood, causing movement issues. And the French this time have disputes in their chain of command as a result of the events phase, so that effect is going to reduce their movement allowances just for this turn. And then the Dromedary Corps is received as a reinforcement. You can see that the very top left of the picture up there. It is not a very strong unit, but you can see the movement factor is 12. This is because the unit is made up of camels. And so that will make it valuable for speeding around the board. 2 French divisions then move into the town of Al Mansoura. And then we have to acknowledge that the command issues, which lower the movement rate, plus the flooding of the Nile, are really hampering what Napoleon normally could accomplish. So there's really not a lot of activity on the French side. The Ottomans have no reinforcements this time. They basically remain stagnant, and the score is Ottomans 24 to the French 17 victory points. This picture shows the layout in Egypt. You can see all the areas where the French forces are in, and you see just a small Mameluke force at Salahaya on the right-hand center picture. Then we go on to turn 4. This turn represents the month of November of 1798, and as a result of the events, the Ottoman side is having infighting again, and this time their fleets are affected, so they're not going to be able to be used this turn. The French army also receives the Invalida battalion as reinforcements, so these land. Then I had troops from Cairo and Al Mansoura maneuver to the town of Salahaya, and you can see depicted here is where a battle broke forth. The town was defended by a strong Mameluke cavalry force as well as some infantry, but the French ended up overwhelming them and win. But it was a costly victory because they suffered the loss of 2 brigades. But the town is captured by the French, and the enemy cavalry, which is all that's left of the Ottoman forces, also fall back. The Ottoman player has really nothing for reinforcements again. So the 3rd Mameluke cavalry, which is depicted in the picture here, decides to move away from the French forces at Salahaya all the way to the port at Suez. The Ottoman army at this stage is just waiting to see what Napoleon plans to do next. They are kind of fighting a reactionary campaign here. And the score now is at Ottomans with 23 victory points, the French at 20. So it's almost at 1-1 by this stage. We now go to turn 5. It's December of 1798, and there is infighting among the Ottoman forces again. So their units in Syria and Palestine are going to be immobile and basically useless this turn. The French army adds reinforcements, and they have a battalion of Janissaries in French service that arrive and are available to Napoleon. The French cavalry drives southward toward the town of Beni Suef, and this town is defended by the 2nd's infantry, and the French are victorious and the enemy is driven out of the town. I don't have a picture for that, but the French 3rd Division marches south to the port of Suez. You can see them depicted here in the picture. And this has a Mameluke cavalry force there along with an Ottoman riverine force. And it's a terrible battle that breaks out here. Both sides suffer heavy losses, and the Mameluke force is wiped out, and the French do capture the town and the port. So we go to the Ottoman part of the turn. They get some reinforcements in Egypt and in Anatolia. The cavalry that was formerly in Qadia decides to fall back into the town of El Arish, and then the riverine unit moves to the port in Aqaba. And now this is the first time the French are in the lead with victory points, as they now have 25 victory points to the Ottoman 20 victory points. But that brings turn 5 to an end. Stay tuned if you'd like to see how this campaign continues in turns 6 through 11 in the next video. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have a great day.
Trucking, got my chips cashed in. Keep trucking like the Doodah Man. Together, more or less in line. Just keep trucking on.